Welcome to Lord Tresserhorn. As far as our opening hand goes, we've got 2 lands and Stifle. Do we want to keep on this one? Yeah, let's go and mulligan on this one. Well, we hit the lands, we're okay. Yeah, let's go and ship this one back. I don't mind that hand, but yeah, there we go. I like this. I like this a lot better. We've got 3 lands. We've got a ramp piece. One of the key things to Lord Tresserhorn is being able to get down Lord Tresserhorn as quickly as possible and have mana to kind of back it up. And, you know, if we just don't hit any lands off of that opening hand, it's not good. So we will keep on this one. We do need to put 1 card on the bottom. And I guess at this point, we've got a token generator and Ophiomancer, and we don't really have a lot of Spell Slinger. So let's go and put Talrand on the bottom. So let's go and click OK. I would have liked to hold on to Talrand, but we can make this work. But yes, welcome to Lord Tresserhorn. Hopefully you're excited to lay down on that tree stump and take a nap and see if me and Lord Tresserhorn can chop your head off and wish you a happy Halloween. That's what we're going for today. Oh yeah, and there we go, run into Young Pyromancer. So let's go and lead off with Volcanic Island. I think that sounds good. And then anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn over to our opponent. But yes, welcome to the Lord Tresserhorn Estates. If you don't know what's going on, me and Lord Tresserhorn and I will be chasing you around the grounds and trying to kill you because it's Happy Halloween. That's what we're doing. So let's have some fun. Let's get the stack pulled over there. There we go. So let's go and cover Lord Tresserhorn. Whenever Lord Tresserhorn enters the battlefield, you lose 2 life, you sacrifice 2 creatures, and target opponent draws 2 cards. Howdy. How about a commander right there? Massive, like 3-for-1 for your opponent, almost 4-for-1. My goodness. But hey, it's Happy Halloween, and I love playing Lord Tresserhorn. So let's go and lead off with Drowned Catacomb. Yeah, and I think at this point we just go Bitter Blossom. You know, that's going to be one of the best ways that we can get around that sacrifice creature. So let's get down Bitter Blossom and then pass the turn over to our opponent. But yeah, so we have all the downside of getting down Lord Tresserhorn. Then for a black mana activation, Regenerate Lord Tresserhorn. Playing against Niv-Mizzet. This spell can't be countered flying. Then whenever you draw a card, Niv deals 1 damage to any target. Then whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, you draw a card. And our opponent's hitting the color mana on stride to get down Niv-Mizzet. So hopefully we can find some sort of answer. At the very least, we've got Toxic Deluge for 5. Oh, there we go. Run into Dreadbore. So we'll take that. Let's make the land drop for the turn. That's going to be Swamp. And yeah, I think I like Worn Powerstone. I mean, that puts us on Lord Tresserhorn for next turn, but we're here to have some fun, so why not? So let's get down Worn Powerstone. We can't swing in with that Fairy Rogue token just yet, and then anything else, we will pass the turn over to our opponent. So we did cover both commanders. Let's give a quick shout out to our sponsors, TCG Player. If you go to bit.ly/JoltMTG, that will apply my affiliate link. That'll allow you to get some cards and help support the channel at the same time. If you do use that link, much obliged. I certainly appreciate it. And let's give a quick shout out to MTGOTraders. Let's give a quick shout out to inkgaming.com/Jolt. That's going to get you 10% off of anything off the website. And last but not least, I started a Patreon. So if you'd like to directly support cool content like this, there's a link down in the description below. But if you're keeping score at home as you're running away from Lord Tresserhorn and I, it is officially free time. And dodge the axe time too, so put that on your scorecard. So let's have some fun. All right, so we got the Bitter Blossom trigger. They are 1 more away from Niv-Mizzet, but at the very least, we've got Dreadbore for next turn. Okay, so we've got Chromatic Lantern with no Lantern. Yeah, I like getting down Chromatic Lantern. We could try to go for something like Ophiomancer, but we don't have a land drop for the turn. And yeah, we'll go and get in for 1. Why not? Let's have some fun. All right, get in for 1, knock our opponent down to 36. And then we will pass the turn over to our opponent. Now, Chromatic Lantern. I see a lot of hate on Chromatic Lantern on Twitter and on Reddit and stuff like that. And I just want to say this. Chromatic Lantern goes into almost every single commander deck that I've ever built. There are very few instances where I do not have Chromatic Lantern in a deck. And I just want to tell you how good of a card that is, because turning all of your lands into the Mario All-Star, where you're invincible and you can tap down for any color, that versatility is just absolutely wonderful. Chromatic Lanterns. I'm not trying to start a Chromatic Lantern discussion. I see a lot of hate out there, and if you don't understand why, I don't understand either. Chromatic Lantern is one of the best mana rocks to me, easily top 5 mana rocks outside of Soul Ring and Mana Crypt, just because it Just turns your entire mana base into whatever you need to do, and especially in the late game where you're trying to jam as much spells as possible to try to win the game, it always helps making sure that your lands can tap down just for really whatever you want. All right, so we've got Young Pyromancer with a Ponder, and I think that sounds pretty good. So let's go Young Pyromancer, and let's get tap down Swamp, get down Young Pyromancer. We're going to go for Ponder, and tap down for blue off of Chromatic Lantern. That's going to get us an elemental token on the battlefield. And let's see what this is. If they've got counter magic, they've got it. That's Muddle the Mixture counter target spell. That's not the end of the world. If they're going to burn that on a Ponder, we'll take that in a heartbeat. Let's go and swing across for 2 with these Fairy Rogue tokens. And then anything else, we will pass the turn over to our opponent. Now, we are looking at Lord Tresserhorn for next turn. Here's the downside. Our opponent is sitting at 5 lands. They have not made a land drop to make Niv-Mizzet just yet. So we'll see if they make the land drop for the turn. This is one of the downsides to Lord Tresserhorn, is giving them, we are running stuff in here that does give us an option to stop that ability. We've got things like Torpor Orb, we've got Stifle in here, we have different things like that. All right, and that's going to be Mana Vault. Yeah, I think what we will end up doing is, especially if they do end up tapping out, or at least kind of sending the coast is clear as far as counter magic, we might try to end up going for Lord Tresserhorn next turn. We've got the token back up. Oh, that's going to be Rolling Earthquake. That's a bummer. That's going to be our entire board state. Never mind. No more Lord Tresserhorn on that one. That stinks on that one. All right, so we've got Toxic, which we're going to have to end up using, or actually we can use Dreadbore if they end up going for Niv-Mizzet. So we'll see. Ooh, and we actually run into a Braid. So if we end up going a Braid, that's going to cut them off going, well, either way, they're not going to even be able to go for Niv-Mizzet. So we can try to end up going Ophiomancer. That's going to give us an extra token. If we end up going a Braid on Mana Vault, that's going to cut them off any sort of extra mana, and that kind of sends the coast is clear next turn for Dreadbore. Do we need to burn a Braid? Yeah, I think I'm actually good with this, because with a 5/5, yeah, we're good with that. So let's go and stop Mana Vault. I know that's not going to get Niv-Mizzet down, but I'd at least like trying to keep our opponent at 5 mana. So let's do that. So let's go a Braid on Mana Vault. That's going to stop the extra mana. If they have a counter spell, they're probably going to burn it on a Braid if they wanted to, and then kind of send make the coast clear for Dreadbore. But either way, I'm cool with that. So no swinging from the Fairy Rogue token, and then anything else. Pass the turn over to our opponent. Now, what are we doing with Lord Tresserhorn? This is kind of like 3 decks in one. We've got some Voltron stuff in here. We've got Fire Shrieker, we've got Sword of Feast and Famine, Key to the City, Black Blade Reforged, of course, Swiftfoot Boots, Lightning Greaves, different things like that, to make sure that we can... Okay, this one, okay, that's just a little creature out there. We can make that work. And with Toxic, we might go for the 4 on that one if we wanted to. Because I kind of like having Dreadbore up. Yeah, we'll see on that one. So all right, so we got Glint swinging. I think that was Glint Horn Buccaneer, swinging in for a 2/4. We'll just go and let that come across, drop us down to 33. But yeah, we've got a Voltron package for Lord Tresserhorn here. One of my favorite things is Tainted Strike. I love it. Tainted Strike is a lot of fun in a deck like this. And all right, so we get the Fairy Rogue tokens on the battlefield, and then we do hit a land for the turn. There we go. So let's get down Dragon Skull Summit. So we go Lord Tresserhorn. We still got the backup to regenerate it. That maybe they hit the land drop next turn. With that, they just completely tap out for Niv-Mizzet. We are looking at counter magic with 2 spells in their hand right now. Do we want... Yeah, let's go for it. Because even if they have counter magic, they might get to the point to where they just let this go through so they can get the card draw. So, all right, so we're going to go for the... we're going to go for the big downside right now. Tapping down for 1 more. There we go. Let's get down Lord Tresserhorn. Enters the battlefield, lose 2 lives, sacrifice 2 creatures, and our opponent draws 2 cards. There we go. We got Lord Tresserhorn down. Anything else, we will pass the turn. So we're in business now. We got a 10-4 out there. Unfortunately, Lord Tresserhorn does not have trample, but we got a big 10-4 zombie out there. Lord Tresserhorn has made an appearance, and that's what matters. So, and pass the turn to our opponent. But yeah, like I mentioned, we've got the Voltron aspect in here. We've got different Voltron pieces in here. Outside of that, we've got stuff like Bitter Blossom and Ophiomancer to make sure that if we do decide to end up getting Lord Tresserhorn down, we do have the option to have those creatures to sacrifice. You want to have some sort of reliable creatures. If you're building this deck, you could take Lord Tresserhorn in kind of like a Grixis zombie style line of play. I typically just have a lot of zombie decks, different zombie builds, different things like that. And so with Lord Tresserhorn, I really like doing the Grixis Spellslinger. I think that was a lot of fun. All right, so our opponent's going to go for Niv-Mizzet. And let's see if they swing in with Glinthorn. They do not. And that's going to keep us open on Dreadbore, which will get the commander tax going on Niv-Mizzet, which I do like. So let's do that. All right, so we get Underground Sea. Let's drop in Underground Sea. Let's go Dreadbore. And unfortunately, this will give our opponent a card draw from Niv-Mizzet, but at least we're going to be dealing with Niv-Mizzet. So it's going to be card draw from them. It's going to be 1 damage. They can pop that Fairy Rogue token all they want. And even if they do damage to Lord Tresserhorn, we're going to be able to push packs Glinthorn on that one. All right. And let's see. So we got Ophiomancer. Let's just see how our opponent wants to block on this one. Let's go and swing in with the 10-4. If they don't decide to block, then we've got the we've got 10 commander damage on the board, so we'll take it. There we go. Knock our opponent down to 22. Let's drop in Ophiomancer. That way, if they do decide to swing in, we'll end up with a snake token. Get that down. There we go. And then anything else, we will pass the turn over to our opponent. But yeah, so we've got a Grixis. The actual core of this deck is Grixis Spellslinger. We saw Young Pyromancer. You saw Talrand. You can see we've got Bitter Blossom. We've got Ophiomancer going. That's the way that we kind of get these tokens on the battlefield. And then outside of that, we've kind of got a good little mid-range assortment of Planeswalkers. We've got Saheeli in here, which kind of doubles as that Spellslinger aspect. We've got Dak Fade, the 3-mana Saheeli. We've got Dak Fade, Royal Scions, Daretti. Whatever we're trying to do, we're just trying to get tokens on the battlefield, get down a Planeswalker that doesn't end the game, but it kind of creates a value problem for our opponent, and then just kind of grind it out from there. Other than that, as far as new additions to the deck, we did add Archmage, which is the Spellslinger aspect that allows us to draw cards whenever we cast an instant or sorcery. And I just now remembered I did not put the new Dwarf Spellslinger in here. And what is that Dwarf? Create a treasure? I'm going to try to type that into Scryfall, because I can Stormkiln Artist. That's what it is. I think that's what it is. Stormkiln Artist. Let's look for that up. Yeah, Stormkiln Artist. And when you get that Spellslinger with those treasure tokens, that is some good stuff. So I forgot to put that in that particular commander or that card in here, so I'll add that later. And our opponent had just kind of a mana turn for this past turn, so I kind of like that. So if we can get unblockable, sounds like a pretty good plan. So let's see what we can do on this one. See what we draw into for the turn. At the very least, we've got Toxic Deluge. Got to clean up some of the stuff if we need to end up doing that. All right, it's going to be Vampiric Tutor. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go and swing in with the crew right now. It's going to be Lord. I can't really see our opponent wanting to block on this one. Yeah, let's do that. Let's swing in Lord Tresserhorn. And we'll swing in with the Snake token. We could swing in with Ophiomancer if we wanted to get extra damage in. Maybe they take the 10 and they risk us sitting at 10 total or 20 total commander damage. But we've got Vampiric Tutor to grab something that's unblockable for next turn. So we'll see exactly what we want to do. Yeah, we'll hold on to Ophiomancer. 2 damage in the grand scheme right now. It's really not going to matter that much. All right, so we got the entire crew swinging in, or half of the crew, excuse me. Got a 10-4 and a 1-1 Death Touch. So let's see if this will get Glinthorn to finally block on this one. There we go. All right, so we're going to see Glinthorn block. And then we could go for Vampiric Tutor right now. If they've got counter magic, I'd like to set it up to where maybe they try to end up going for Niv-Mizzet, and then we can get Vampiric Tutor to stick for next turn. And I think that might end up working out for us. All right, so their shield's down. Yeah, let's just wait on Vampiric Tutor, because it's kind of dependent on what they end up grabbing. Sorry, Sturgill, if you heard that bark, Sturgill's my Blue Healer Rottweiler mix. And he was asleep, and somebody just drove by, and that woke him up and scared him. Come here, buddy. Come here. All right, there we go. So I'm petting him. So there we go. But yeah, so let's see what our opponent does for the turn this turn. That way we can kind of see what we end up grabbing with Vampiric Tutor. One of the good things is that keeps us completely open. We can go for some sort of unblockable that will not win us the game, unfortunately, with Lord Tresserhorn. If we get some sort of unblockable effect like that, but if we grab something like Sword of Feast and Famine, if we grab Double Strike, we can get that power and toughness bonus that will allow us to do that. So we're just kind of going to see what our opponent ends up rolling out for the turn. If they try to redeploy for Niv-Mizzet, and that's going to be 8 mana, they take the charge counters off of that we might end up going for a piece of spot removal. We'll see. Let's see what this is going to be. So they're tapping down 8 mana. All right, and that will end up being Niv-Mizzet. So let's go for Vampiric Tutor in response to that. And let's get this popped out and see exactly what we're going to end up grabbing I think what we do on this one is I think we just grab some spot removal. I kind of like that. They're completely tapped out. So let's do that. Let's grab Infernal Grasp. That's going to go on top of our library. That's going to allow us to get rid of Niv-Mizzet for next turn. Unfortunately, we're not going to have the commander damage on that one. But we will be at 20 total commander damage. And so I like keeping Niv-Mizzet off the battlefield. That sounds like a pretty good plan. So let's get the Bitter Blossom token onto the battlefield. Draw into Infernal Grasp. Let's go Infernal Grasp on Niv-Mizzet. That will net them the card draw. But we got the crew swinging in on this one. So that'll be an extra card draw. And they can pop one of the Fairy Rogue tokens, so we'll see who they decide to pop. They're actually going to target ourselves, I think, with Niv-Mizzet and drop us down to 24. And then we're going to get rid of Niv-Mizzet. It's going to clear the entire crew for us to swing in. And our kingdom for one power bonus right now. All right, so we're going to get in for Lord Tresserhorn. This is going to be 10 coming across, drop them down to 10, or excuse me, 6 with the other creatures out there. 20 total commander damage, and then anything else. We will pass the turn to our opponent. So we've got a couple different options on this one. If we run into Exsanguinate, that might allow us to do something. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So that won't be just enough, but we'll see what they can do for the turn. They've got 7 cards in the hand, so I'm a little worried about what they've got assembled. But as far as the video goes, I'm happy. We've got 20 points of Lord Tresserhorn commander damage. I've been recording Lord Tresserhorn for a few years now. And it's a big downside, getting down Lord Tresserhorn and give your opponent 2 card draw, sacking 2 creatures. There's a lot of hoops you got to jump through to get down Lord Tresserhorn. So I am a very happy camper, even if our opponent stabilizes at 6 right now. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but, you know, they've got a lot of mana and 6 cards in the hand with an open Sensei's Divining Top. So that is definitely spooky in the Halloween week this week. But as far as getting 20 commander damage, Lord Tresserhorn, man, that is a win in my book right now. I'm happy. So no matter what happens out of this game, that's a good feeling right there. And even if our opponent does somehow either deal with Lord Tresserhorn, blow the board up, we still got Bitter Blossom tokens to maybe kind of grind it out. We'll see. We got some good stuff in here. So let's see what our opponent's tapping out for. Okay, so our opponent's going to go for Blink of an Eye and return Lord Tresserhorn back to the hand. It was kicked, draw card. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got 5. So unfortunately, that'll put our opponent down to 1. But we'll see what else. They're going to draw another card. And with Fiery, they're going to have to pay 1 life either way. That's going to drop them down to 5. Oh, Pyroclasm. Okay, so there we go. All right, I was like, man, what is their payoff? Yeah, that's going to clear the board out. All right, so opponent's sitting at 5 right now. Let's see what we can do. We do have Lord Tresserhorn in the hand, but we do not have the necessary creature requirement for that, and that is Sulphur Fall. So let's go ahead and get the land drop going for the turn. And we've got Lord Tresserhorn, nothing in the graveyard. So we're going to go ahead and pass the turn over to our opponent. Here's the downside. Even if we do get another Fairy Rogue token, we're going to give our opponent 2 card draw with a ton of mana. So I don't know if we can, other than ripping into a hasty Lord Tresserhorn with the coast is clear to swing in, I don't know what we're going to do about this. So let's go and let them get Sensei's Top going. We'll see what they can do for the turn. But yeah, we've got some options. You know, one of the things that we do want to see, we've got Exsanguinate in here. We've got the mana to hit an Exsanguinate. We still have to watch out for counter magic from our opponent. We've got some good Planeswalkers in here. We've got Jace the Mind Sculptor. Like I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of those mid-range Planeswalkers, those 3-mana Planeswalkers. So even if we hit some sort of value piece like that, that'll really help us out. But let's see what... the very least, we've got 1 in the air. It's going to drop them down to 4. All right, we got Captain Lannery Storm swinging across. It's going to be a treasure token. Drops us down to 19. And then we'll see. But yeah, if we end up... And if we hit Torpor Orb, that'll just make the coast is completely clear for Lord Tresserhorn. So... All right, it's going to be Sensei's Top activation. But yeah, if we draw to one of our value pieces, that'll really help out. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, we do have, I don't know if I mentioned it, but Tainted Strike and Uncaged Fury. Those are some of our combat tricks for Lord Tresserhorn that we do run in here that end up being a lot of fun. So let's see what else our opponent's got for the turn. At the very least, we can slowly start chipping away with some Fairy Rogue tokens. And we've got Niv-Mizzet with 6, 8, 10. So we're looking at 10 mana for Niv-Mizzet. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10. All right, so Tandem Lookout, Soul Bond, and it's paired with another creature whenever it does combat damage to a player, draw a card. Okay, so they got some value engine, not a value engine, but some value pieces over there. Oh, and if they Soul Bond, draw a card, and with Niv-Mizzet, whenever it deals one. All right, so that's going to be a loop right there. So we'll get him for one with Fairy Rogue, but I think we might end up going for a Toxic Deluge to make sure that Soul Bond doesn't happen. All right, so that's Tainted Strike for +1 and gains Infect. So let's do this. Let's go and swing across. We've got one coming across that's going to drop them down to 4. And the good thing about Bitter Blossom, we've got that enchantment coming down. All right, so there we go. Drop them down to 4. We can Toxic. So we Toxic, that cleans the board out. We can still Lord Tresserhorn, get rid of 2 creatures, still Toxic for 2 and get rid of their board state and have a pretty sizable threat. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 with the treasure token, so they can completely tap out for Niv-Mizzet, and then we'll still be able to kind of Lord Tresserhorn out of this one. The only thing is, do we want to give our opponent 2 card draw with Lord Tresserhorn, or do we just want to Toxic and pass the turn? We're here to have some fun, so you know what? Let's do that. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we got just enough for Toxic Deluge. Okay, let's do that. I like this. We're here to have some fun. It's Happy Halloween. If we give our opponent an answer, we certainly do, but I like having Lord Tresserhorn on the battlefield, especially with Tainted Strike. I don't know, that maybe we can set it up. That would be pretty fun. All right, so we're going to get Underground Sea down, or tap down that, get down Lord Tresserhorn. We're going to lose 2 life, drop us down to 16. They get to draw 2 cards, and then we'll sacrifice the 2 Fairy Rogue tokens, and then let's go Toxic Deluge for 2. I like that. And that'll still keep Lord Tresserhorn 1, 2. The only downside is we're losing the regenerate ability, which is not fun. We're not super happy about that, but at least we've got Lord Tresserhorn out there. And if they do completely tap out for Niv-Mizzet, then we've got Lord Tresserhorn swinging across for a 10-4, and we're going to be able to get in on this one. Yeah, because if we try to end up going the Fairy Rogue token or the Bitter Blossom route, if they get down Niv-Mizzet, they start drawing cards, they start dealing 1 damage, start popping our creatures, it's just really hard to do anything with that, and especially with an open Niv-Mizzet on the battlefield. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed that maybe we can get Lord Tresserhorn down. It's going to be Past in Flames, okay. And that's going to be Pyroclasm, Blink of an Eye to return it back to the hand. They've got a Braid if they want to pop our Chromatic Lantern. They've got Muddle the Mixture that they can go for with Past in Flames. So really, as far as the Past in Flames out of their graveyard, it's not... Ooh, and that's going to be Parun. Okay. So we'll see exactly what the... Yeah, but with that that Blink of an Eye sending it back to the hand, that is going to be that's going to be a pretty big bummer on that one. Now, one of the good things is they are sitting at 4, and they do have Fiery out there. So that kind of does complicate exactly what they want to go for. So if they do go for Blink of an Eye, if they want to go for the kick cost, they're going to have to lose a life on that one. So, all right, so Blink of an Eye returning Lord Tresserhorn back to the hand. But yeah, if we can just top deck, all right, this is going to be a Braid on Chromatic Lantern. But yeah, if we can top deck Exsanguinate, we'll be in a pretty good spot. We also do have Thassa's Intervention and Pull from Tomorrow to allow us to dig deeper into our library. So we've got some outs. Them sitting at 4, I kind of like this. We'll see. See if we can't sharpen Lord Tresserhorn's axe somehow. And at the very least, we've got our Bitter Blossom token and another one for next turn to go for Lord Tresserhorn. So see what we draw into for the turn. Run into Cathartic Pyre. So do we want... discard up to 2 cards. Or we can deal 3 damage to Baral, which is in the big scheme of things... So what we can do is it's going to be Lord Tresserhorn into the graveyard, and then we can recast it again if we need to. I think we just need to start digging. I think we need to dig. So let's discard up to 2 cards. We're going to discard Lord Tresserhorn, and it would go to the command zone instead of library. Actually, let's make sure that's right. Okay, there we go. So let's hit cancel, because it was kind of weird on that one. Discard up to 2 cards. It's going to be red and then black. And then let's discard Tainted Strike and Lord Tresserhorn. And then we'll return Lord Tresserhorn back. Ooh, there we go. So we run into Dack Fayden. Okay. So we can Arcane Signet and then Dack Fayden, and we can gain control of an artifact if we want to, or we can try to loot. But yeah, if we end up looting, it's not going to be that good. So let's do that. So let's go Arcane Signet. Let's go for Dack Fayden. And we can steal their Coalition Relic. I think that sounds like a good plan. That way we can kind of chip away at their mana on this one. There we go. Yeah, let's do that. So let's go Dak Faden. Let's go for the -2. Gain control of... We can go for Sensei's Divining Top, but they can go for the activation in response to that. So I think what we do on this one is we just grab Coalition Relic. There we go. All right, so we're going to gain control of Coalition Relic. This does help them... This does keep them off of Niv-Mizzet, hopefully for a little bit more. And then anything else, we will pass the turn to our opponent. So let's get Lord Tresserhorn pop back up. We've got the mana now to where if we do hit the Fairy Rogue token for next turn, we can at least try to go for Lord Tresserhorn. With them sitting at 4, we might just try to start swinging in with the Fairy Rogue. They can swing in with Baral next turn. They can swing in with Baral. That'll get rid of Dak Faden. With them sitting at 4, I think we might want to start kind of trying to swing in with these Fairy Rogue tokens. So let's see how they decide to play the turn out. I guess an argument could be made for holding on to Dak Faden if they do decide to swing in with Baral instead of letting it go, because we draw a card for next turn, then we can Faithless Loot for 2 with Dak Faden. And I think that might make a difference. Because at this point, if we can just get some sort of Exsanguinate, or if we can find Exsanguinate, that'll work out. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see how our opponent decides to do this. Okay, so that's going to be Time Spiral. Each player shuffles their hand in the graveyard, then draws up to 7 cards. You untap 6 lands. Okay, so it's going to be Time Spiral, which we're actually happy to see. All right, so we run into Thassa's Intervention. That's going to be Ponder, Daretti, Chandra. And with Chandra, depending on how they do this, with Chandra, we can actually go for the 0 ability, get those 2 elemental tokens. They gain haste. That might help. We might be able to do something with that. All right, so it's going to be Mog Savage. If opponent controls an island, you control a mountain. You may cast this, destroy target artifact on Coalition Relic. Okay, that's perfectly fine for us. But at the very least, we've got Bitter Blossom token in the air. One of the elemental tokens will get across with Chandra. And we can also end up going for Daretti. Yeah, we drew into all of our 3-mana Planeswalkers. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to have to be able to only deploy 2 of them. We can, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 8 total mana, which that does put us on potentially going double Planeswalker. And with the Royal Scions, we got the +2/+0. All right, they're going to send Fairy Token back to the hand. May sacrifice a land, copy the spell. Yeah, we're okay with that. We're not going to sack a land right now. We want to get some stuff out there. So, all right, it's going to clear the way for them to get rid of Royal Scion right now. Not Royal Scion, but get rid of Dak Faden. And so we'll see how we want to do this, because we can go for Chandra next turn, get the elemental tokens, 2 of them down, especially with them tapping out with Baral, and then kind of go from there. So let's see if they have any sort of follow-up play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's going to be 9 total mana. I think we're sitting at 10 total mana for Niv-Mizzet. So we'll... Okay, so we got the Bitter Blossom token on the battlefield, and with Royal Scions, First Strike and Trample. All right, so that will not give us haste, and we draw into Talrand. Okay, so let's make the land drop for the turn. That's going to be Rogue's Passage. Yeah, I think we let's test the counter magic. So let's go for, let's get Chandra down. That way we can get those 2 elemental tokens. And at the very least, we've got Thassa's Intervention to go for a counter magic in response to that if we wanted to. So let's see what this is going to be. That's going to be Disallow. I think I kind of like fighting on this one. So let's do this. So let's go for counter target spell on Disallow. And it's going to be 6. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, they'll have just enough mana. This is going to be twice X. That'll be 6 total mana. But that'll force them to completely tap out. And that'll be us completely tapped out too. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so we'll let that Disallow go through. That's going to be Baral coming down. That's going to be a loot ability. And so we can end up going for Royal Scions, draw a card, then discard a card. Or we can go for the Daretti option and sacrifice and get rid of Baral. Sacrificing Arcane Signet to get rid of Baral. Yeah, I think we might end up doing that. I kind of like that. All right, so let's get Daretti down. We'll tap down Arcane Signet. All right, so we get that down. Let's go for the -1. And yeah, let's do that. So let's go on to get rid of Baral. And then we're going to sacrifice Arcane Signet. So we'll get rid of Baral. And That does give us the option to go for Ponder this turn, but that does keep us open on Infernal Grasp. So I think what we're going to do on this one is I think we will simply just pass the turn right now, because that way if they do swing out with Niv-Mizzet or something like that, we do have a spot removal spell that we can utilize for next turn. So anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. Now next turn, if we have this Fairy Rogue token stick around, we've got the Royal Scions, that's going to be +2/+0, so that does give us a way to get them down to 1. So we'll see what we can do about that. In fact, let's see what they roll out for the turn. Okay, so our opponent's going to go for Sensei's Divining Top. They're going to draw a card off of Sensei's Divining Top. Let's get the commander popped down just a little bit. And it looks like they're simply just going to pass the turn. So what I think we might do on this one is just swing him a Fairy Rogue token. We could try to go for the Royal Scions, which will get probably get some sort of action out of their hand. And that's going to be Ophiomancer. Okay. So let's do this. So let's go for the +1, because we have no artifacts. So let's get a construct token onto the battlefield. And we end up going Royal Scions. And yeah, I kind of like doing this. So let's do this. So let's go Royal Scions. That way we can go for the +1. If we can get them down to 3, you know, we're probably looking at some sort of, you know, spot removal. They drew a card off the top. But I do like forcing this one at this point right now. So let's go +1 on Fairy Rogue. That's going to give it First Strike and Trample until end of turn. Let's go and swing across for a 3/1, and we'll see if this gets any sort of action out of our opponent's hand. The only downside is we do have counter magic, but it is Thassa's Intervention, which unfortunately at this point does not do anything with them having this much mana available. So let's see if we can get this to go through. We got a 3/1 coming across. They might have some sort of bounce spell. But at the very least, we got down the Royal Scions this turn. And with us getting another Fairy Rogue token, it does complicate them for next turn. We can try to leave up Infernal Grasp, but if we end up going Ophiomancer, that gives us spot removal for next turn, and we just need some variation of tokens. And let's see if they tap down like this. Yeah, I kind of like this. That's going to be Cyclonic Rift, so let's go for Thassa's Intervention. That's going to be double blue, colorless, because they do not have the mana to pay for that. So let's click OK. Thassa's Intervention for 2. That almost puts them on Force of Will, but even then, if they have Force of Will or some sort of free counter spell, all right, opponent's going to scoop it up on that one. There we go. We get the Lord Tresserhorn game on that one. We swing in for a 3/1. The game's not over yet, but hey, we will take it. That drops them down to 1. And whew, that was a long game right there. But that's everything you want to see in a Lord Tresserhorn. You know, we got to see, we didn't get to see any Voltron. We did see Tainted Strike. We got to see the nice mid-range Planeswalkers out here, the value Planeswalkers, I should say. We got to get in Thassa's Intervention to get Cyclonic Rift. We got Fairy Rogue. We got this down on turn 2. And look how much work this Bitter Blossom put in for us this game. Even if our opponent does get down Niv-Mizzet, we've got Infernal Grasp next turn. And yeah, that was a good game. I enjoyed it. In fact, if you enjoyed the video, hey, like and subscribe, and happy Halloween. All right, bye.